Good morning. This is my second Monday motivation. And in the first one I talked about what is our identity. As Christians, it is not in our sports teams or our sexual preferences. It's not in our colour of skin. It's not in our accents, cultures, but it is the fact that we belong to Jesus Christ, first of all. It's not even in our family name. And I talked about my family last time. I mentioned that my father's name was Lloyd George Iball, Iball being the family name. And I mentioned that there was a story in there somewhere, and I want to unpack it to you this morning. Well, there is a story there. The story is that Dad was born to Welsh parents in a mining family, and David Lloyd George was at that time the United Kingdom Prime Minister. David Lloyd George, by his upbringing, knew about desperate poverty, and he worked hard during World War I as soon as he could to end it. And when he was Prime Minister, he brought in financial aid for the most needy people in the country. He said, "I am determined to remove the shadow of the workhouse from the homes of the poor." I don't think we understand today what that really meant, what it was like to live in a workhouse, being desperate with no money. He sought to achieve that by guaranteeing an income to people who were too old to work. And he brought in the Old Age Pension Act, the first time that had happened. It provided between 1 and 5 shillings a week to people over 70 years of age. Well, not many got to 70, but those who did got it. His next major reform was the 1911 National Insurance Act. This provided British workers with an insurance against illness and unemployment, unheard of. But the first time, all people who earned a wage had to join the health service, into which each worker paid a weekly contribution, the employer and the state adding an amount too. In return for these payments, free medical attention and medicines were made available, as well as a guaranteed 7 shillings a week unemployment benefit. That was novel and astounding for the needy people. You can see then why needy people like miners, Welsh miners, and miners who came to Doncaster, like Grandad, loved him so much. Added to that, he nationalised the coal mines and gave the miners a living wage. So that was why my dad got the name Lloyd George in celebration. Now, it is said that all political careers end in failure, and Lloyd George certainly lost the miners' support when he sold off the mines back to their previous owners, and wages as a result fell deeply. It is true, Grandad regretted calling Dad Lloyd George. All names, of course, have meanings, and we read in Luke's Gospel that when the angel visited Mary, she was told her son Jesus would be the Son of the Most High God. He was to be called and known as the Son of God. Just imagine, for the teenage Mary, this would have been a shocking thing to hear. And yet it proved to be the truth. He was, and still is, the very person and Son of God, the only God in human form. And then in Matthew's Gospel, in chapter 1, we read that Joseph had a dream. He had a visit in that dream from an angel, and he was told that Mary's son had to be called Jesus, and he would be Emmanuel. Emmanuel means God with us. Just think about that. The Almighty, wonderful, unique and only God came in human form to be with us. And he knew and knows our life experiences, not living in rich luxury, but in an ordinary life. And still he knows your troubles and mine. He knows our needs and circumstances. He knows our temptations. And more than that, Jesus was to be called Jesus. And the reason given is that name means the Lord saves. And in Jesus, all who want to have may have a rescuer, a saviour. You may think, I don't need a saviour. I don't need a rescuer. My life's perfectly all right, thank you very much. But I want to tell you that that is not the truth. The truth is that every human being has rebelled against God's perfect way. All of us. You may not like to hear that, but it is the truth. God has set out a perfect way for us because he's a moral being. He set out the perfect way for his creation, human beings, to live. And all of us have failed. All of us know that. And a perfect God cannot accept us as we are. So we all need the God-man, Jesus, the Lord who saves, to rescue us. And he did that by taking the punishment we deserve for our rebellion in his body on the cross. That is why he was crucified, dying our death to give us his life. So what is Christmas about? Amazingly, this year people have put up their lights very early because we're so fed up with 2020 and they want to begin celebrating Christmas in some way or form. And nothing wrong with that at all. But what is Christmas about? Well, it is the coming of Jesus to be the Lord who saves. I want to ask you today whether you really asked him to forgive and save you and bring you to God. If you haven't, do that now. Just ask him to forgive you and save you, and then start living for him in the life of a church where you'll get support. Thank you.